Hello, you're in the wrong place. Go away. Yeah, being a founder is so crazy. First of all, you get to wear cool Merlin hats like this. I think this is what is this, the New England Patriots? No, it's not. It's Texas. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch football, American football, and yeah, my background has that light reflected on my glasses. But I don't really remember Texas. Who's Texas? So, what does it mean to be a founder? Let's start with that, and then we'll try to get back into the work because, like, this is one of the first videos of the podcast series, and I'm still trying to like figure out what is this podcast series about. Um, yeah, so we outlined some topics. I feel like maybe we should start a little bit with a little conversation, and then we'll get into the workflow. So, in today's video, if you're a founder, if you're somebody who you want to build a company based on developing some kind of program, like a software program, like a website, a web application. I mean, even if you have, yeah, so that's the main target for today, people who want to use AI to do coding. And we're going to talk about AI coding tools a little bit, my experience with them, and then we need to get back to my workflow because remember the basis of the dumb founder is that you have to be posting every day or at least often. I mean, see, this is the problem I have right now. So I started up this dumb founder podcast, and then now you see there's like this dumb founder sitting in front of you, and I can see myself, and it's like, okay, let's. You know why I look like this? It's because part of the reason is because I have people I talk to from Ukraine. You know, the strange thing is that people like businesses actually talk to me. Like I look like this, and they're like, "Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk." So it's great to be for some people to appreciate the things that I have to say. I try to do the mostly. I try to listen, and that's one of the problems with creating a podcast is you have to talk rather than listen. But in Ukraine, one of the issues in Ukraine is that like people are literally like it's minus 20, minus 30. Hopefully it warmed up this week. So I wanted to feel just a touch, just a little bit of what Ukrainian people feel. And actually, I have one lady I talked to. She's from Ukraine. She's currently in Sweden. I talk to her at least once or twice a week, and her brother is on the front lines. It's just terrible. And then I have another guy I talked to, and he is like a former. He worked for the Russian government. He's a little bit older gentleman. Now he's in France, and he's trying to fight back. He's trying to fight against Russia. And then I got another guy. He's in Kazakhstan. He's from Russia, but he lives in Kazakhstan, and he doesn't like the Ukrainians. And he's trying to get back to his home country. So it's interesting to get the different take from very very different perspectives on the war. But one thing I can do is I can just make myself a little bit uncomfortable and try to experience a little bit of what they experience. I live in a country called Georgia, so here up in the mountains, the coldest night was minus 11. We've had about 5 or 6 days, 5 or 6 nights this winter at minus 11. Usually it's about minus one, minus two, I guess. This week we're looking to forward to tomorrow being 8 degrees, and then 11 degrees, and then 12 degrees, and then 8, and then 9. Like the next 6 or 7 days are going to be like crazy. I'm going to finally be able to take off this outer shell. Now, the question you might be thinking is like, wait, is this a founder? Are you serious? This is what a founder looks like? Yeah, exactly what a founder looks like. Yeah, check this out. Let me show you something. All right, so this is an interesting chart. We have two axes. We have an x-axis and a y-axis. The basis is about. I can hear my dog. He's outside. I'll just let him stay outside for now. All right, I'm just checking my video. Looks like okay, good. All right, so at the top of the screen, you got I own the product service. I don't own the product and service. Let's talk about this from the perspective of if let's say that you're a marketing person. Like right now, as you saw from the video yesterday, I'm attempting to become a marketing person. In fact, if you look at what I'm doing in general, what is this effort about? What is the dumbfounder about? The effort is that I'm trying to make myself into a founder, meaning I'm trying to create a product and then I'm trying to share that product with the outside world. I'm trying to share that I have some benefit and that some problem that they have is going to uh, will feel better based on using my product or service. So I'm a triple threat, triple threat. So that's over here, right? So I own the my product or service. I also own the website or store, which means number one and number two, the product or service. So when I say I own the website or store, I'm saying that I manage the place of sale. I built a place of sale, and then I have to manage that place of sale. And then product or service means that I have a product, like I built a product, and then now I want people to buy that product. Let's say that you're a shoe store. So are you making the shoes yourself? So if you're Nike, then you're gonna build a factory in China, or and then like 10 years ago, you're gonna move it to Vietnam, and then that's where you build the actual product. And then, well, the place of sale is they have a bunch of stores around the world, and then they have a website. They have to deal with all of those issues. Now, if you have a physical brick and mortar store, it means that you have to deal with logistics. So that's why I put logistics under the concept of like product or service, and then also place of sale. Right? I own the product and service. I own the website or store. If it's a physical product, then you have to deal with logistics. Okay. Now, some people they don't own the product or service. So let's say that let's say there's like this OEM factory, original equipment manufacturing. It means that these people they'll make the product for you, and you can put your own brand name on it. So let's say that I find a Nike factory, and I say, listen, I got a new design for you. I want to use your equipment. I want to use your products. I mean, like your raw materials. I want to use everything that you're using to build those Nike shoes. But I want you to change the design enough so that like we can produce some of these shoes out the back door. We don't tell Nike that we're producing them. We put my brand name on it. They're like, okay, let's do it. Great. So that's not really different from a lot of people that are doing this thing called drop shipping. Drop shipping, it just simply means that I found a product in another market. Let's say that I found a product on Alibaba.com, and then now I want to sell that product in on Amazon.com. And there's a lot of different systems that are like almost like seamless services where you can connect a store on Amazon on Alibaba.com directly to an Amazon store. And then what happened was Temu, I think they discovered there was this arbitrage. I mean, the concept of drop shipping is basically arbitrage. So you go to the China market, you go onto the China market website, you buy the product directly from them, and then you advertise that same product on Amazon or whatever, eBay or whatever they sell, whatever they are selling products on in a different market. And then Temu said, well, why don't we just destroy all those businesses? There's a huge business opportunity here because we know how the China market works, and all we have to do is set up distribution centers around the world, and then we can be sending products and into all of these foreign markets, which is almost like undetectable. So the Chinese, you know, so now they have like a literally like a the ability to send any kind of product or equipment to any country around the world with their internal systems. This world is serious stuff. And then they shut down all of these people who are trying to arbitrage. In fact, they could probably get the data from Alibaba, and they just find out. They figure out what are the nodes. So they find out how companies are, what's selling the best, and where are they selling, and like what platforms they're selling on. And then we just cut down the arbitrage. Anyways, so if you're selling somebody else's product, it means you're drop shipping, which means you don't have to worry about the product or service. You're mainly focusing on the place of sale and logistics. But it doesn't matter what you're doing. In all of these cases, you have to deal with marketing. Like, how do you export your marketing? And that's why, like, one of my days of Dumbfounder is so focused on marketing. One of the days is on marketing. And one of the days is on AI software development, which is actually today. And for me, because I'm building it like an online website and my tool is a web application, my product or service is software. My place of sale is also software. And what I did was I simplified my product, the idea that I have for a for the software product I'm trying to sell, and I turned it into a marketing tool. So there you go. It all goes back to workflows. Okay, so today, what we're doing right now, like our main goal is we have 10 episodes, which means we're going to be making 10 YouTube videos. Today's video number 3. This is where the rubber meets the road. So we have to do this. We have to use our Connect application 10 times. We're making 10 videos, and we're following this pattern because everything goes down back to workflows. And if we can do this 10 times, before making changes or more plans. Because we're trying to understand what is a growth scorecard. So a growth scorecard it's basically like you have a sales funnel, and you need to track the numbers from the top of the sales funnel all the way down to the bottom of the sales funnel. Now, before you can build a growth scorecard, you have to build systems. Like you can see here, it says ad spend, cost per click, and social sessions. So if we have ad spend, it means somebody is creating the ads. And if somebody is creating the ads, then they have to have a specific workflow, meaning that they need to know which platforms are we posting on and what is the content of those ads. And that's the topic for a different day, because yesterday, if you look at yesterday's video, AI videos, in the first video of the series, we actually talked about sales. So it wasn't actually the niche concept. We talked about how to contact when you're ghosted by somebody you're trying to sell to. And today we're talking about vibe coding. But I got a huge issue. Well, I got a whole bunch of problems. Let me show you some of the problems that we're dealing with. I gotta stop sharing. And I'm gonna share my whole screen. All right, so check this out. You see here, it says model quota limit exceeded. You have reached the quota limit for Gemini 3 Pro High. You can resume using the model at 14:35. It's only 12. Look at so where I am right now, it's 12:54. I can't resume using the model until 2:35. It means I can't show you this tool. And then I have another project here. It's the same thing. So I got quota limits in both of these issues. Okay, so what are we talking about when we talk about quota limit? Like if we go to code, all right, so here's one. You can see that this is my GitHub repository. It says Qubit Connect. And then this one is my anti-gravity, Google anti-gravity, Qubit Connect. So this is where we're doing the coding. And right now, what we're doing is we're fixing some little performance bugs inside of the code. So as you can see here is the actual website based on the GitHub repository. So I'm running it directly from the GitHub repository. And then it's like the Jules, Google Jules is they found some certain issues. And then I went back into the anti-gravity and then I asked anti-gravity, like, is this like something that we should fix? And then it agreed. And so it kind of rechanged the prompt a little bit. I put the prompt back into Jules. Now Jules is working on it. But then I took this, which is the plan of Jules, and I put it back into anti-gravity to ask anti-gravity if this is the right plan. And then I've exhausted my quota. And so it can't answer whether or not Jules is safe to do this thing. Now, on the other page, this is, you can see that this one is my, well, okay, the thing is with Project Arrowhead is that I'm having like huge issues with it. My Project Arrowhead project is right here. It's being run right now by Cloudflare. I don't even know how it's still working because like in the last couple of days, we've just been going crazy. The code inside of GitHub, it's here, and like it's still, there's some issues with failing tests. I don't know if it's a problem with the software or if it's a problem with the test. So this is an introduction to coding. Now, I have to tell you right away that my coding experience, the issue I have with coding is that I'm not good at math. Like I'm terrible at math. There's nobody more terrible at math than me. And I know you're supposed to be like, oh, you're not supposed to tell yourself, you're not supposed to have limiting beliefs, because limiting beliefs, like it just reinforces. And it's like, okay, maybe, but here's another issue. First, I gotta check if my dog is here. No, he's still running around outside. It's sunny today, and he's just like one of the first real warm days. So I think he's just outside hanging out with his buddies, running around, laying in the sun. Anyways, there's this one book. It's called what is it called? The Intelligent Investor, or what was it? I can't remember which one it was. It's about management. One of these management books, and the dude, he's like basically talking about. He's saying, listen, don't do things that you're bad at. Like if you're not good at it, you shouldn't focus on it, because if you focus on things that you're bad at, then you're going to expend a huge amount of time and energy on something that you're not good at. And when you expend that much time and energy, something that you're not good at, like you're wasting your time, because you could have been spending your time on something that you're good at. And then you could have got a lot more benefit from that thing that you're good at than the thing that you're bad at. And in general, like, okay, fine. The thing is, like, being a founder is that I remember there's that one famous post of Altman, Sam Altman, and he basically says, like, listen, if you're going to be a founder, you have to be a generalist. You have to know a little bit about everything. And then eventually what you're going to do, like if you talk to the founder of Alibaba, he says that his focus is on always hiring people who are smarter than him. Okay, let's put the two pieces of advice together. Let's reconcile. So one guy, he's saying, listen, if you want to be really good at something, focus only on what you're good at. And the more you focus on what you're good at, the more benefit like the deeper you can go, the deeper you can compete. Like I remember listening to Jordan Peterson, and he's talking about like, hey, if you look at the scientific endeavor, what happens is that you have like most motivated, the most focused people in the world. They're working constantly for 20, 30, 40 years on one problem until they become like on the edge, until they know everything they need to know, or at least they know like enough about every topic they need to know about, and they are have the deepest understanding in one specific domain. And then that's the bleeding edge, right? So you got some people are like, if you want to compete, you got to be on the bleeding edge. But then the founders like Sam Altman and Alibaba's founder Jack Ma, they're like, well, in fact, you have to kind of understand how everything works generally, and then you have to hire people who are extremely focused on that specific thing. And then you go to the richest man in the world. And why is he the richest man in the world? Because I think I think it's probably because um, Elon Musk, he has some special ability to work constantly, and he's also able to understand all the things that he's doing. So he's like right on the floor with the top minds in his industry, the top minds about engineering, the top minds about this, the top minds about that. And he's working with the top minds. He's always with all the top minds doing those specific things. And he's on the floor. So, I mean, I don't know. So the generalist Sam Altman, it's the kind of guy who hires people. The generalist Jack Ma is the kind of guy who hires people that are smarter than them to solve these issues. And then you have the generalist Elon Musk who does everything himself. What's the right answer? I mean, just do what you can. I think the right answer is about tools. So if you are hiring somebody, I don't think it matters if you're hiring a service. Like, what about this guy, Chris, what is his name? Christensen from Harvard. He's like, the question you should be asking, it's like, what are you hiring this product to do for you? And so he's not distinguishing a difference between a product or a service. He says it doesn't matter if you hire a human or if you hire a robot or if you're buying a product. All of these things are set out to do one thing, to work for you. Meaning you have a pain point, you need to solve that pain point with that thing. It means you have a node, and then you got to connect something to that node. That's it. So when I first started learning code, I went to a website and I just started taking coding lessons, and then I signed up for a bunch of different coding platforms, how to code, and I like one of them, I bought the lifetime subscription for whatever amount of dollars. And then I started using it and I started like trying to understand it. And then very, very quickly, I discovered that you have to have the mathematical brain in order to understand what's going on. And then, then I had this one student and we were talking about like what skills you are not going to need in the future, like what you definitely shouldn't be studying right now because AI is going to roll you over. And he was like, I'm not going to learn to code. He's like, I want to learn how to code. Like, I think it's valuable. And I think that's where a lot of like value comes from in the world. People that know how to code, you definitely always have a job. But then now the AI is coming out and I'm really worried. So this is like 3 years ago. And now, like me, I have zero understanding of software development. And check it out, like this is not a simple app. Like a lot of people are like, well, you can do it with one prompt. It's like, okay, when you're doing it with one prompt, you're talking about like a brochure. Like, okay, it's like a website that it's, hey, look at my stuff. It's like it's not a real website. It's a brochure. This is a real website. Why? Okay, so I don't know. Like at the end of the day, we need to get back into the workflow. And I don't think that we're going to be doing this. Oh, you want to come to my website? You want to come to my Dumbfounder podcast and learn about HTML tutorial or CSS basics or JavaScript or no, Python, Charts.js, deploy static. This is garbage. Telegram bot node, manage secrets. Why? Why am I going to learn any of this? I mean, if you go into my video from yesterday, so after my video yesterday, I went into my Gemini and what did I ask? Maybe we'll start from the top. All right. So I found this really interesting video from Runway, and it's basically like connecting all of these nodes. I mean, I don't really want to talk about uh, AI video generation today, but basically, you see this. I mean, you can't really see it. There's like a node. This is talking about video editing. So now, if you understand how to put these nodes together, you're going to better understand video editing. So that's the direction we're going to be going with my video editing day when I talk about AI video, how AI text to video latent space works explained. I mean, maybe this. So I created this list of topics that we're going to cover, but it's like, uh, I don't know. I don't think that this is. I don't think. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're not going to delete everything. In fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out these things here, copy that. Let's jump back into here. All right, so I said, which other software programs have the same type of editing flow plus AI development like this one? So it's talking about node-based editing and AI development workflows. It says, okay, you got Comfy UI, and then you got Invoke AI, you got Krea Nodes, you got Houdini. So I was like, okay, we're starting to get there. And then I said, what about the cost? How do I pay for credits? Which software will allow me to create short videos, animate images for social media reels that I can work on for a few hours a day at the lowest cost? Okay, so then it says, okay, you could try Krea. And then a Comfy UI is basically going to be like between around 50 cents an hour. You got Hyper, you got Kling. And then I said, okay, if I'm only starting to use this type of software and only have 30 minutes a day, which free option should I start with? And then which program should I graduate to when I react to daily limit a few times in a week and want to upgrade a little? And then it's just, okay, I said, I can't open the website. And then I said, okay, start with this free, and then this with the light plan, and then this, and then compare two plans, Luma and Kling. And then it had some ideas. And I said, okay, I don't need to upscale. I'm just creating hobby videos for social media and developing a skill. I think that Kling AI Global free, and then Hai Lua I free, and then Kling AI paid. This will be enough for me. And then I'll have the skills to use workflow AI generation skills. Are the skills I develop in these tools directly applicable to the other software workflow? And it said, yes, that's perfect. Crawl, walk, run, plan. Yes, about 80% of the skills are transferable, but they transfer in a specific way. You are learning the principles of AI cinematography, which applies to every tool. Here's exactly what you will learn in Kling Hai Lua and applies to the advanced tools. So prompting motion, first frame physics tolerance, refinement. The skills they don't teach are node wiring, which was exactly what I wanted to. Specific control tools. So here's the syllabus. So we start with Kling free. Now let's see if I got my Kling free anywhere. And then we got Hai Lua free, and then we got Kling, and then we got the Kling paid. And then I'm like, well, why are we starting with Kling free and then Hai Lua free and then Kling paid? A little bit confused about that. Then we started talking about Comfy UI again. And then I looked at, you can actually pay 20 bucks a month. And then, anyways, I think that's the whole conversation. Okay, so in the video, in our video, AI video creation podcast, next time we're gonna start using Hai Lua I. And then once we run out of credits, then we're going to jump into Kling. And then once we run out of credits, then we're fine. That's done. We'll be done. We'll just finish the video. And then because we want to get a real good understanding of how to use Hai Lua I as a tool for brainstorming and for just testing things out. And then once we hit the limit for the day, then we're going to take our experience and our understanding and throw it into Kling AI. And then we're going to see what we can do with Kling AI. And then eventually what's going to happen is either we're going to learn how to work within the free quotas, the free credits, or we're going to discover that we need to actually pay in order to get enough credits to run the like a light version. See, it says plans start from $6.99. And then the question is like, is this going to be enough for us, $6.99 a month, or do we have to immediately jump into some pro account? Is 660 credits per month, is that enough, or do we need 3,000 credits? So how do we deal with this experience? That's the main issue. It's like, what tool are we going to use? And then what's our process for learning? And that's it. Like that's really what we're trying to figure out. So now if we throw in these, okay, so a friend gave me these topics to study regarding AI video creation. There is a topic and also a sentence to use for Google when looking for short videos about that specific topic. Can you edit this list to reflect the workflow of using Hai Luo I first each day until we hit the limit, and then moving to Kling until we hit the limit, and then over time we'll continue using Hai Luo I for brainstorming until we hit the limit, and then pay the light package with Kling if we need more coverage. And at some time in the distant future, what is that? Distant future will connect to Comfy UI to learn the node. So what skills do we need in a step-by-step way? Which of the following would you delete, reorder, and add? So we're just going to add that, enter. All right, so we're getting closer, but this was expected. I mean, I know that like I showed this screen like this is our curriculum, but it says Midjourney, Runway, Suno, 11 Labs, ChatGPT, CapCut, Topaz. It's like I don't need to learn every single tool. Let's start with like one or two tools. Let's start with one tool and see what we can do with it. And then when we hit some kind of limitation, then we can expand to another tool. Like let's say that we talk about hammers and nails. Like maybe nails isn't good enough for what I want to do. And then at some point you're like, well, in fact, you probably need a drill and screws for this. It would give you a better result. And it's like, well, doesn't a nail do the same thing? It's like it almost does the same thing. It's a little more crude, but it's really fine finish, like a really nice finish. Then you're going to want to drill in like a small hole and then add a screw. And it's like, okay, I see what you mean. Let's start with the nails and the hammer. This is a strategic rewrite of your syllabus. I've deleted the specific Runway Pika tutorials. You aren't going to use them, replacing them with high-low motion brainstorming for polish. You've reordered. I've also reordered it to 4 phases, which match your free-to-pay to pro journey. Phase 1. Okay, but I need this. I need to be able to copy those into the columns and rows of the spreadsheet. See image. All right, so now we got a serious problem because our show is like half over. And rather than, I mean, see, this is the issue with being a founder is that sometimes you want to do, you're like working on extremely important things. Highlight the entire table above, including the headers. Control C command. Go to your spreadsheet, cell A2. Okay, let's see if this will work. Whoa! It worked. I was not expecting that. There you go. How many topics do we still have? We got freaking Gordon. It's not there. Gordon. I don't know these. Those are the neighbors. That was crazy. That was like unexpected, and it looks like it could be an ideal. Let's check it. All right, so we got concept. We got prompt engineering for video. Hailoa Minimax video prompt guide, motion descriptors. Hailoa video generation beginner tutorial 2026. Cinematic camera angle prompts for AI video, wide shot, AI video aspect ratio 9:16 for reels. Hailoa AI human movement prompts, walking distance tutorial. Kling AI image to video tutorial brings photos to life. Midjourney beginner video V6. Kling AI CapCut Suno 11 Labs. So it still goes into a bunch of other tools. Okay, it's fine. So at least it takes us. We definitely know what the next video is going to be. We got 2 Hailoa videos, and then Kling. So, I mean, what's this? The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the next 6 weeks. If we add Midjourney, this is the next 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. We got 10 weeks of Hailoa and Kling. I don't know. Maybe I got to make more videos. Like, because the thing is that, like, I have a product. I have my wait list product. So I have to drive traffic, and I have to show people the value of that product and how it can help you to develop some kind of workflow that will produce social media content for your business. Man, it's like stressful, right? Because it's like you're building a new muscle, and I don't necessarily want to be doing it. It's like look, it says up in the corner, it says Blaine is at work. Why? Because this is work, man. This is not easy for me. It's way easier. I would say that when I started doing coding, it was also difficult. All right, let's get focused. So I think that was unexpected, but let's get to vibe coding. So how are we going to do this? Let's use the same one just because it has the logic. It understands the logic behind what we just did. All right. As you can tell, the microphone in my mouth isn't actually the one that's picking up the sound, but it is the one I use. It's the one that's connected to Google. All right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just hesitant, I don't even really know what to say here, but I know that this is the wrong answer. All right, let's have a little chat. All right. So the thing is that I know that we have been talking about AI video creation, and I really appreciate the work that you've done there. I think that you've done a great job with identifying the topics that we should be covering and the order that we should be covering them in. We're going to be using that, especially for the first 7 to 10 weeks. Like, let's say we did one video a week for 10 weeks. I can see that, like, all the way up to CapCut. I think that all of those early videos about Kling and about Midjourney and about Hailoa AI, they're perfect. I think that it's great to have 10 weeks of solid experience working with those 2 tools. And then I can see that you start to move into CapCut and Suno and 11 Labs and Hydra and Topaz and a bunch of other tools. And probably by the time we get there, then we'll be ready to start to use other tools. So let's see what happens. Maybe I'll increase the current rate of making one video per week, and maybe I'll have to start making two videos per week because there's so much ground to cover and there's so many, like you only really get experience making social media and making videos and doing content creation through through experience, through actually doing it, through producing output. So that's the thing, is like we need to really figure out how we're going to do more. Now the thing is, I want you to put on a new hat. So I want you to use the same kind of logic where we're trying to build a series, like a series of topics that we need to cover. And I'm going to paste in the content from the other videos that I make. So I also want to make a video about like vibe coding. So the thing is, I've been vibe coding for like almost a year, and I was one of the people who immediately jumped into this technology because I had some designs. I had a serious design. I had a serious project that I was working on, and I immediately started vibe coding. And like obviously, the vibe coding software has really improved in the last year. And now I actually have like a little tool, and it works. And so that's the reason why we're doing AI coding tools, is because like I've already developed the product, and now that I have the product, now I need to start making making the social media for, so that people can eventually also start using the product. And the thing is that the product that I built, it is only the first stage in the products that I'm creating. And it's basically like a waitlist page, but it has a tool inside of it. And so I'm trying to get people to use the tool. And then once they're using the tool for a while, eventually they're going to be able to find the where they can join the waitlist. And then they can get updates about what I'm like really trying to build, is like another piece of software. So I have like a huge amount of experience, and um, I'm using Google Anti-Gravity, and I'm using Jules AI, and I'm using Gemini, like right here. Like I have another chat window open where I share the um, the database, the code that we have built, and the code that we're now trying to work on. And then I have a conversation where the AI Gemini is helping me to understand the output of anti-gravity, and then it also helps me to create a variety of prompts for anti-gravity, and then anti-gravity is going to understand better what to do if because the AI, I think, like I have zero understanding of code. And I don't know, like, I think that probably my audience, it's also people who don't have experience with code, and they don't really even know where to start. And so how do you make I don't know about this AI coding topic anymore, because like here, let me show you. Like I have a list of topics, and I'm not interested in any of those topics. I don't want to think about those topics. I don't want to do anything about those topics. I don't want to learn about those topics. I think that all these topics are like the anti-gravity and Google Gemini. Just even if I just have them talk to each other, they can work through those issues, and they have much more specialty and understanding about those content I do, and more than I will ever have. So the thing is that, like, how do I create a curriculum when I already have a number of, like, I'm working on a couple of projects. I'm still working on a couple of projects, and like like my waiting list, it's like basically the page, it's already done, and there's not a lot of changes that I want to make to it. It's basically like what I want it to be. And then, but my other product, it's still in development. And then the question is like, how do you discuss with like people who are on ground zero, when inside of my product I'm not on ground zero? I've been developing this product for a really, really long time. And yeah, we're still building some of the features. Not everything is working perfectly, but like it's like I'm not a beginner. So I don't know. Can you help me with like some questions that I might want to ask myself before we continue discussing what the curriculum should look like? Here's an example of what the curriculum was. Okay, so now we're going to put in the curriculum. And then push play. You see what I'm saying? I think everyone understands the issue that we got here. If you're a new founder mean, that's always the issue with anything that you're learning because nobody's ever going to be on the same page as you. And I'm not saying that like every single video that I make is going to be interesting for everybody. I'm already dividing my time into three topics. Not everyone cares about AI video, but I think that anybody who's a founder of a company, obviously, if there's an easy way to just kind of keep abreast of the topic, then probably you'd want to like, you don't have to watch my whole YouTube video, but at least just get the reminder from one of my social media channels. And then the business topics, yeah, like after a while, I don't necessarily agree with like all of these topics, but I mean, we haven't actually gone through them yet, so I'm not really sure what these topics are. I didn't read it yet. All right, let's see what we got to say. This is a massive and necessary pivot. You're absolutely right to throw the old list in the trash. The old list is coding 1.0 mechanic. You're doing coding 3.0. If you're using Google Anti-Gravity and Agent First IDE and Jules Acentric Agent, you are not writing code. You are managing intelligence. Exactly. You're orchestrating a team of junior developers, the AI, to build a product for you. To build a current curriculum that actually matches your vibe coding workflow, you need to answer these 5 diagnostic questions. Your answers will tell me to structure the new manager's curriculum. Okay, seems like we're going somewhere. All right, so I'm just gonna read your questions, and then we're just gonna figure out like where we should go with this. So let me just check to make sure the video is still. Yeah, it looks like we're still okay. Okay, so the question number one, it says the black box tolerance old way. Here is how a div works, vibe way. Here is how to tell anti-gravity to build a landing page. Question, if anti-gravity writes the code that works but looks messy, do we care? Are we teaching the audience to read code and verify it, or do we teach them to test the output and run the app and verify it? No, so the thing is that like if the there's actually a process that I go through. So what I do is I spin up like a Gemini agent, and then I ask it to be a like a Google development. Like I ask it if it can tell me about the Google development coding standards. And I think that there's already some Google development coding standards. And so then I ask it to like to input the Google development standards into a context window. And then after that one's been developed, then I open up a new one, and then I ask it questions about like how it believes, what are like I open up a new chat instance, and then I ask it about its understanding of design and how what are the design trends for 2026, and how do they differ from the design trends of 2025. And then I tell it that it's going to be helping me to work with another AI agent who is focusing on Google's standards. And then I asked them to have a conversation, and I asked them to create 10 questions for each other about how we should think about design. And and then I start asking it questions like, should we go and look for some, like, what are some examples where we can look for some examples that might be interesting? And then we open up some websites and we start to look at a variety of different examples. And then I take screenshots of those examples and put them inside of those two AI instance chat windows, and then I asked them to give some recommendations for what we should do, and like what is the plan when we think about design, and then how we should incorporate the design features into the product in general. And then I have another window which is actually the architect. So it has like it's the one I've been using to work with anti-gravity during the process of development. I ask it to understand the code base and then understand what elements have to be influenced by our decisions when it comes to design. And then I tell it that we have two other AI agents, and then I tell it that it can ask any questions it wants of those AI agents. One is about Google development standards, and the other is about design element standards, and that we've been looking at different websites, and that we can continue to look at different websites for examples, and that we need to drill down on what is the purpose of the design in our application. And so I create a conversation between three different windows, and then those three different windows are able to communicate with each other. And one of the main keys is that as you start to have this conversation, the AI agents are generally they're going to provide summaries, and they're going to be as basic as possible. And so you have to continually ask them to you have to ask them to list 10 things that you're missing in this process, and list 50 things that are missing in this process. And then also, can you judge So that's one trick. Another trick is like, can you judge the output of the other AI instance, and would you give it an A plus for the result or for the text that it produces? And then what are like 10 things or 15 things or even 20 things that that person missed and they didn't add in their response, which could help them to improve their output to an A plus. And then you just move those, you take the one from one screen and then you paste it into the other AI element and ask it like name 10 more things that are missing. And then you take that output and you put it in the first one and ask it then again, what are 10 things that are missing? And then eventually what happens is the AI instances, they will come to some agreement. They'll start to say, actually, yeah, so the current what you have is like an A already. And there's like if we want to add more elements to this that are missing, they're not actually that significant. And so sometimes what I also ask is I ask it to say, now that you have a list of 50 things that are missing, could you list them in order of significance? And then if there are items that are not significant and that we don't really need to think about, then you can remove them from the list. And then let's just address the most important items right now. And after we finish addressing those items, then we can continue and then we can address some of the other items. And so it's a circular process of going back and forth and trying these. Basically, you're trying to get the most amount of work out of the tools, and you have to lean into the tools and trust that the tools know what they're doing. And then it's basically helping them to just dig deeper and deeper until they feel like they have a very good basis for making decisions about design based on the concepts of design and also based on the developments of Google development standards and also as it applies to the context base of the software that you're developing. And then once they are all in agreement, then you go in and you make the prompt for anti-gravity. Sometimes you might want to go into anti-gravity during the process and ask it to, and you can tell it like we're having this conversation, we're ongoing in this conversation, and could you like go into the code base and tell us what elements of the code we need to consider as we are making these design decisions. And then you can add those comments to the other AI instances as they make those decisions. All right, so then number two is the stack. So the stack, I would say that yeah, so the thing about the stack is, yeah, I just mentioned to you about the stack. Now, there's a difference between like when you are building the first website I built, it's a local first attempt. So there's no database in the background, meaning that I'm not like applying any other deeper tools. Like even though we are using an API, so we're using the free Google API, so people can go in, they can create their own API key, and then inside of the local first website, the API key is saved on their own browser, and like I don't have access to that API key. And then the person is able to use the API in order to run some of the application workflows that are inside of my first tool. And then when we go to the second tool, then it's a much more deeper tool that requires database and also enables people like from teams to be able to join in inside of the application, and it saves in real time. And then other people can see the saves that have been happening in real time. So in that case, then we have two different systems. The old system was I used to use Supabase, and then now that I'm the Google Suite, then I'm seeing that probably there's other tools like Firebase that I'm probably going to start using. So that's the thing is that like my focus is to be using the Google Suite and relying less on the other tools. Like I just noticed that I used to use Cloudflare for like 6 months ago, but now suddenly we have Render. And so I just don't even really know what to do about that because like I can see that the old tool stack is getting replaced by the Google stack. And in general, I would say that I put more trust in the Google products. And I know that they have like a huge amount of money and that they're extremely competitive. And so what I think is that in the long term, it's likely that Google's products are going to be able to perform just as good or better than any of the other competitors. And so I think that it's better to just keep up to date with what's happening in Google and be able to use those tools as well as possible. Next is this question number three. You're talking about the product. So yeah, I think the issue here is that I've been developing products for a very long time because the thing is that when I started this process over 10 years ago, I had a book. It was by a guy named Thomas Buchholz, and I could see that he actually was a software developer from the very beginning in Silicon Valley before code or developing computer programs were known by anybody outside of the valley. And I've heard him tell me some stories about like when he and his friends were developing some software products. And so like I realized very early that I wanted to develop a software product, but in order to do that, I had to read his book, and then I taught his book to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people until I was able to understand, like, to get a lot of understanding of how managers manage teams and projects and processes, and then how the book explains how you should be doing those things. And then I also brought in some other tools and methodologies in order to understand what people are doing to manage people and projects. And then at the end of all of these processes of inquiry and of development and of inquisition, then I started to come up with some kind of design, and then design after design after design until I've come up with the designs that I have now. And so I think it could be a challenge to be able to help people to understand how to create a design. Like, are you just doing something off the top of your mind, or or do you have like a serious process of like testing it with real users and trying to understand how people are thinking? So the next one is like, yeah. So next question number 4 is the real skill. Can anyone can make a prompt, make a button? And question, do you include debugging the vibe? So yeah, so the thing is that I address this when we talk about how to actually create prompts. So you're not actually creating the prompt yourself. You're using your AI like Gemini or ChatGPT in order to think about what prompts we should be using. And then we then use those tools to make the prompt. So it's not you directly that's making the prompt. Number 5, the audience role. So the question is, the entrepreneurs want an app. They don't care about the code at all. Developers who want to speed up, the entrepreneurs we teach project. Yeah. So that at the end of the day, we want managers that are product managers. So, and in order to be a product manager, then the first step is that you don't have a product, you don't have a team, you don't have anything. And so how do you even start? And the thing that we're starting is we want to different AI agents. In fact, everything that we're talking about, whether it's about AI video creation or whether it's about creating AI. I think we had the curriculum already. Okay. All right, let me check for this dog. Everybody, 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 everybody. It's a sunny day today, so the dogs wants to be outside. So I just open up the balcony. All right, this is a massive upgrade to thinking. You have moved from how do I code to how to be a CEO of an AI software development agency. Exactly, that's the point. Your workflow of opening 3 windows, Google standards, design trends, architect, the forcing them to debate, critique, and grade each other until they reach an A+ consensus is advanced agent orchestration. You're manually running the multiple agent system. Here's a vibe coding to manage your curriculum. This syllabus ignores how to write a loop and focuses entirely on orchestration, quality control, and the Google Stack. It is designed to teach entrepreneurs how to replace your boardroom workflow to build a complex apps. Vibe philosophy, Project IDX versus Cursor versus Replit, comparing the comparison of founders. How to use multiple LLM personas. Google Standards Persona, Design Critic, 50 Things Missing Technique, AI Grading Protocol, Visual Context Injection, Generating PRD, Getting Started with Google Projects, Non-Coders, God Prompt. What is that? What's the God Prompt? I don't remember saying that. Google Stack. Google Stack. Okay. I mean, obviously, this is an upgrade from what we had before. Because this is definitely wrong. But actually, I also don't want to. How do I? All right, we have a bigger problem now. We got 20 minutes left in the video, and we didn't make anything. So our workflow is that we need to post. Does Google give you better video results? Make a recipe, 10 Reddit, LinkedIn, Facebook. That's not going to happen. And this was the time I had today to work on this. All right, so what happened? What are we going to talk about next time? Vibe philosophy? I mean, all right, I don't even know what to say, but I'm done talking. So I'm going to rest and we'll talk about this stuff again next time. Toodaloo.